on what the homework is asking, or depending on what the test and quiz asks, you have to know how to graph them all ways. So if it asks you to graph with a table, okay, you make a table. It takes the longest amount of time, but you do it and you survive. If it asks you to graph with x and y intercepts, that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, when you have an x-intercept, that means it's the place where the graph crosses the x-axis. Okay, so it crosses the x-axis. That's your x-intercept. Guys, there is nothing funny. Stop. When you have a y-intercept, stop. When you have a y-intercept, that's where the graph crosses the y-axis. Okay? When I want to find the x-intercept, I substitute 0 in for the y, and I solve for x. When I want to find the y-intercept, I substitute 0 in for the x, and I solve for y. Okay? So today when we graph, we're going to do it by finding the x and y intercepts. If I find the x and y intercepts, I can plot those 2 points, and I can draw a line between them. Makes it much easier than putting in -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Okay? Plus, when I plug 0 in for equations, it makes life so much easier because it gets rid of a whole thing, yes? Find the intercepts of the graph 3x minus 2y equals 6. If I want to find those intercepts, which one do you want to start with, and how do you want to do it?
You want to start with 3x, right? No, you want to subtract 3x.
No, stop. I don't even need to subtract or get anything into y equals form if I'm solving for the intercepts. Okay? I want to find the intercepts of the graph, and then from there we're going to take that answer and we're going to come over here and graph them. Okay, Carter, what do I need to do?
I'm just going to go with the x.
Okay, so we want to solve for the x-intercept first, okay?
So then you have to substitute the 0 into the negative 2y.
Yes, so I'm going to say 3x minus 2 times 0 equals 6.
So then it would be minus, I guess,
It would be 3x equals 6, right?
And then you would divide like normal.
Yes, by 3, and x would equal.
2.
Okay, so my x-intercept is this. It's a solution point of 2, 0. Okay, because I plugged a 0 in for the y, and my x came out to be 2. So I have to have, when I write it, I have to have a set of points. Okay, because I can't graph just x, you know what I'm saying? Okay, I need a set of points. Now, if I want to then find the y-intercept, what do I do? Someone besides Carter, tell me, what do I do to find the
So
y-intercept?
you got the graph, got to multiply by 1 divided by 2 to add it.
Substitute what, Emmanuel? Yes, substitute a 0 for x. So 3 times 0 minus 2y equals 6. Okay, so then I get -2y equals 6. What do I do there? Divide by -2, and y equals what? And so my point, what's my x in this case? 0, and my y is -3. Now, I'm going to then graph the equation from what we just solved. So I have 2 points to graph. How do I graph the first one, the x-intercept, 2, 0?
Go over 2, you go, you just stay there.
I just stay here. And then how do I graph the y-intercept of -3?
Let's go over,
Go down 3.
Okay, and now look, I use a straight edge. When you guys do it on your homework, you're going to use a straight edge. And now, look at how much simpler that is to graph. So now, I have graphed a line from an equation using intercepts. Okay? So if they tell you to graph using a table, you're going to do what we did the last 2 days. If they tell you to graph using the intercepts, you have to solve for x, you have to solve for y. By plugging in 0 for y when you're solving for x, and plugging in 0 for x when you're solving for y.
So,
You graph those 2 points, you have a line.
So
we can do this
basically,
like natural.
Well, as long as the directions say, if the directions just say graph, you can choose any way you want to graph it. If it says graph using a table, I need the table. If it says graph using the intercepts, I need you to do it this way. You still have to know how to do each way, okay? Because later on, when we get into higher things of graphing, sometimes we can't just find the intercepts. Sometimes we have to do some other stuff. So that's why we still need to know how to do charts, okay? And then the last part of this whole thing is a word problem. And this is all this whole lesson's about. Okay? So, you are canoeing along a 12-mile stretch of river. I'm going to underline that because that might be important, 12 miles. You travel 4 miles per hour when paddling, and you travel 2 miles per hour when drifting. Write and graph an equation describing your possible paddling and drifting times for the trip. Okay. And then it says give 3 possible combinations of paddling and drifting. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's create an equation first. Okay? How can I create an equation about this? Now, if I'm graphing this, I'm going to have what variables in there?
X and Y.
An x and a y. Good. So what is my total that I'm traveling? 12 miles. So it probably should say 12 equals, right? Okay? And then what are some other information that I have that I can substitute in for?
2 miles per hour.
Okay, when drifting and 4 miles per hour when paddling. Which one do you want to name x? Which one do you want to name y?
You want
Okay, so 4x. So we're going to say paddling equals x, right? I'm just making a little key over here so that when I graph it, I know what to label my x and y axes.
How do we know which one to label X and which one to label?
You can choose. Just as long as you tell me and you label it right on your graph, I'm fine. Okay? Now, that means we're going to do what for y?
Drifting for Y.
Okay, so 2y. And is it plus or minus there?
It's plus.
It is plus because it's paddling plus drifting equals my total. Okay? Now, I want to graph this. If I want to graph something, what form do I have to get it into?
Function.
Function form, which is what equals what?
Y equals.
Yes, y equals
X.
4. Okay? So I want to get this into y equals 4. How do you think I'm going to go about that? What do I need to do?
You subtract
You subtract 4X.
4x to 12.
Okay,
X will be
so I'm going to say negative 4x plus 12 equals 2y. And then I'm going to divide by 2. And y equals, what's negative 4x divided by 2?
2.
Negative 2x. And what's 12 divided by 2? 6. So here's my equation that I'm graphing. Okay? I'm graphing that equation. Now, I can graph that equation using a table, or I can graph that equation using what?
Intercepts.
At intercepts. What do you want to do? Chart or intercepts? Josh, think about what's easier. Chart or intercepts? Intercept's going to be easier. So, let's find the x-intercept. If I want to find the x-intercept, I plug a 0 in where?
Yeah, that is easy.
The y. So I get negative 2x plus 6 equals 0, right? Subtract 6. Negative 2x equals negative 6. Divide by negative 2 and x equals, what's negative 6?
3.
Thank you. So my x-intercept is 3, 0. Okay? If I want to solve for y, I plug a 0 into
X.
so 2 times negative 2 times 0 plus 6 equals y. So y equals what?
3.
No.
Negative
What's negative 2 times 0?
3. 0.
So you're left with
6.
So my intercept is 0,
0 and 6.
6. So now I'm going to graph this. Okay, let's graph 3, 0. That's right here, yeah? And graph 6, 0. That should be right here. Okay, so here's my line. Now, that's graphing it, okay? I created the equation, and then I graphed it, right? And then it says, give 3 possible combinations of paddling and drifting. What does that mean when it says give 3 possible combinations?
Make a graph.
Well, when I make the graph, I can get my combinations off the graph. Because here's what it's saying. Anywhere that a point falls on this line, that's a solution to this equation. So, I could paddle, okay? Wait, let me see here. This one's paddling, right? And this one's drifting, the Y, right? Okay, so if I drifted for 6 hours, okay, I could make it 12 miles, correct? Okay, and I could have paddled for 0. I also could paddle for 3 hours and drift for 0, and that's a solution. Or, look, which when you use a ruler and use graph paper, this is going to be more prevalent. But if I come here, this line should cross like this. So that it should be like this. Look, if I come here, that's a solution also. So I have a solution of paddling for 2 hours and also drifting for 2 hours. So I have 3 solutions right there. I have a solution of, okay, of 0, 6, which is paddling, drifting. I have a solution of 2, 2, which is paddling, drifting. And I have a solution of 3, 0, which is paddling, drifting. I also have a solution here. I have a solution here. I have a solution all the way on this whole line. So your answers can all vary when it comes to that point, okay? Because you can choose 3 different points on that. I suggest you choose ones that fall perfectly so that you can see what the numbers are easier. No one wants to deal with halves and fourths and things like that, okay? So that's what you're working on tonight. You're going to find the x and y intercepts. You find the x-intercept by substituting 0 in for y and solving for x. You find the y-intercept by substituting 0 in and solving for y. Then you're going to take those x and y intercepts, you're going to put them on a graph, and you're going to graph a line using a straight edge. You're going to create equations yourself with 2 variables and graph those using either a table or using x and y intercepts, whatever makes it easier for you. Okay?